Good morning, everyone, or good evening in Bali. Hello, welcome to our live today. We are doing this live to introduce you to our new podcast on her own terms. And I'm just waiting for my co host, our podcast host, to join. She will be here soon. Hello, Terka. Niki is here. Perfect. She's joining now. How is everyone doing today?
Hello.
Hi, Niki. Hi, welcome. Oh my God, so nice to have you here. And we finally do this live, introducing our podcast. This
It's
has been
like,
our baby for the past maybe 2 months already. And we have been
yeah,
working on this podcast. 2 months, right?
2 months, 2 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I almost can't believe it.
Yes. And it's like every time we record this podcast episode, I feel so happy, even by just recording it. And we put so much like love into it. And, it's so much joy for both of us.
Exactly, exactly. I feel the what I always go by, it's like you will stick to those things that you actually want to do no matter what. Like no matter if people watch it, no matter if people like listen to it or anything, if it brings you joy, it's something that you are meant to do, right? And that doesn't mean that I wouldn't like people to listen to our podcast, but I just know like it gives me and you so much happiness. So I hope like it's gonna help and bring happiness to others people's life as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I have to say, like, every time I listen to our podcast, even after we record it, it gives me like these high vibes again. Like every time we edit it and I just listen to it, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. Oh my God, people have to listen to this. It's amazing, really.
I hope so.
Because I
I
feel
have
like
the
every time we like choose a topic, and this is usually like a topic that Nikki and me go through actually personally, and we kind of put our information together so like perfectly that in the end there's like this whole podcast episode that we don't even have idea how it came out because it has like so much wisdom.
It's always like this. It's first of all, it's funny that we always relate in the each week. We kind of go. I'm not saying we go through the same things, but when I ask like, "Oh, Annie, what do you feel about this topic?" and she's like, "How did you know?" Like, it's amazing. Yeah, it's like we really. It's something very recent for us, and yeah, that's how the whole episode goes. Like when you will be listening to it, hopefully you guys will be listening to it, you will find out that we kind of like mix like so many topics together, but somehow at the end it makes sense all the time. So
Yes. Oh yeah, it's perfectly makes sense. Okay, so let's start with the name. What do you think? What is the name of our podcast and why did we choose this name?
all right, so our name of our podcast is On Her Own Terms, with the subtitle How to Get Happy and Aligned. And I have to, yeah, I have notes here. That's how serious we are.
This is the first time Nikki has notes.
Yes, absolutely first time I have notes for anything I have, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and it was a funny story because like we sat down one day and we were thinking, okay, Nikki, so what should be the name of our podcast? And then we were like, brainstorming. So what actually is our podcast about? And we were like throwing ideas, and we said like we want to empower women to like get to know their own like tools and what works for them, and to get to truly know themselves so they can create the life of their own terms, so they don't live a life like accordingly to some society or some parent or like someone else, and they truly live
yeah.
the life that is their own. And this was like the core belief behind our podcast, and this is why we chose the name On Her Own Terms, because in this podcast we do give you like tools that we use for mindset, for self-love, and for many other things, but we still want you to kind of pick up whatever resonates with you, and we want to empower you to find your own tools.
I think this is a very, very important message for from both of us, that each person is different and we just have to get to know each other, like ourselves. And if I know myself, then I know what I like, what I don't like. How do I want my life to really live? Not like based on what I think other people think I should live, just like really, what do I want? And I just wish that for every person, like just find out who you are. We share practices how to do that, and then slowly build your own life from there. And like when you are happy, everybody around you will be kind of influenced by your happiness, I believe. So
Yes, absolutely. And Nikki, do you want to share a little bit about your story? Just slightly, like what inspired you kind of to get into this teaching, you know? Because I think we have similar stories.
we do. And this is gonna be funny because whenever I try to introduce myself, I feel like I'm telling different story all over again. And it's not that I made anything up. It's just it has so many angles that I never know what will come up. So bear with me. But I feel what's coming up now. What's the most important part? I feel it's like, and I feel that's where we both resonate. We were living our lives before on what we thought was the right way from society, like have a good job, have a good career. And in my case, I would be like, I'm this and this age, maybe I should have a family already. So like I was going towards that like mainstream life, which I'm not saying is not good. But because I wasn't so successful in like following all the steps that I had in my head that would make me feel successful in my life, I started to feel like something's not probably going right. And all one thing led to another, and somehow I ended up in Bali for what I call now my life break. Basically, I felt like my life back home like broke into pieces. So I decided to travel. I decided to travel with the first stop in Bali, and I didn't really have any plan. I felt like maybe I will start traveling. Maybe I will try to switch my career to a digital nomad. And super long story short, I became digital, but not so much nomad because no one can force me to carry the 20-kilo backpack I had to somewhere else. I was like, I went to Bali. This is enough. I'm just kidding. You know, Bali is a wonderful place, and
Yeah.
I decided to stay at some point, and that story is not such unique here. I know so many people who just came for a 2 weeks holiday and they just decided to stay for life. So it's not anything specific, but I feel like Bali is a great place to start, discover yourself a little bit more on a deeper level. Like as I said, like what do I really love? What do I like to be doing? How I would really like my life look like? And yeah, Bali allowed me to start on this journey, and it's now for 3+ something years. And I finally got to a point where I kind of feel that it's like I finally processed a lot of things from that story, because it sounds like a very like smooth journey, but in reality it was like 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 a tornado possibly. And yeah, here I am, and I feel like now that I process part of the story, I feel beneficial to share, and maybe somebody will be inspired, and that we should all figure out ourselves first and then try to build the life of our dreams. That's probably the core message, what I found out for myself, and that's what I feel like people should.
Yes.
So,
I think this is
and
the core message of this podcast. Absolutely.
the podcast is like exactly for this, I feel.
Yeah. You know, and it was funny because like when we kind of met by accident with Nikki, I posted in one group and she responded and she's like, okay, let's start talking on Clubhouse. And from sudden talking to Clubhouse, we were in this idea to like, how about we make it a podcast, you know, because this is really good. And then like, how about we start live? And like in the first moment Nikki messaged me, I knew that we have so much in common because she said like, yes, I'm a freedom coach, and you know, I live in Bali for 3 years, and I used to work in a corporate job, and then I like started traveling and decided to live life like accordingly to me and my dreams. And I felt so like this resonated with me so much because I had the same story. I used to work as a cabin crew. I worked this amazing posh job in Emirates. You know, I was flying the world. I had like nice money. I lived in Dubai. I live like by the beach, you know, summer all night, all year long. And I was super miserable. Like I was depressed, anxious, you know. I wasn't happy at all. And yeah, I was like, what is happening? And then I quit my job. I also started like having like some health problems. So I quit my job and I moved back to Czech Republic and I actually started to travel. And I went to Bali. This is funny. I went to Bali for 2 months by myself. You know, I went like solo traveling to Bali and it was so much fun and I kind of started diving into myself and what I actually want. And at first it was so hard because there was like so many shoulds and supposed to's in my head. And you know, I didn't even know what I want because it was like covered behind like all the shoulds and supposed to's. So there was like, oh, you should, you know, find this job, or you should do this, and you should go traveling, and you should like, I don't know what. And it was so hard for me to discover what I actually want. But this was such a freedom to me when I like really started tapping into what are my core desires and really started following them. And this voice of what I really want started to become like being louder. And yeah, I think this is like what we want to teach other women as well, because like your life will change completely if you start living accordingly to your dreams, your needs, and you basically become happy because you follow what makes you happy. And this is like precious.
Yeah, but I feel that in both of our journeys, it's clear that the pathway to that is not so straightforward. Like even the realization, and first of all, for example, me coming to Bali, I didn't came with the idea of like now I'm gonna find out what my life really should look like.
Yeah.
What do I know? I felt like, oh my gosh, that's such a disaster life, and I was probably like running from something, and I just need the rest for like to whatever figuring it out. And still 3 years in, and I'm slowly now starting to uncover like, okay, so what do I really want? Because as you were talking about the shoots, that's such a strong thing we have, and we I feel like we all try to live our life so responsibly, and we have just some like one definition what does it mean to live a responsible life, and we just it's just so hard to allow any different viewpoint, even like for me living in a place where there is so many people from so many different cultures, so it's quite easy to see a lot of examples of like different lifestyles. But like until I allowed myself to actually figure out my own, I didn't even like, it was so hard to get there. So I just want to share like so there will be some uncovering to do before we can start actually figuring out like what it is that we like. Like we have to, like you said, like remove the shoulds, remove the rules we create for ourselves. And yeah, it's a process, but it's fun. It can be fun, and also
Yeah.
sometimes not fun, and it's okay that it's not so fun sometimes.
Yeah, it's a journey. And
Yeah.
also, I love about our podcast that we don't say to people like, oh, you have to be happy 100% of the time, you know, but it's kind of real. Like, we tell them, yes, we live human life and you will not be happy 100% of the time, but we can give you the tools how to manage when you are a little bit low, but how you can kind of get back, or you can like process your feelings, you know. And we also cover this and many other things. So we kind of connect, we talk about one topic, but we connect it to so many other things,
Like
which are
million
like
more.
million more, which is like self-care, self-love, understanding yourself, even health, and following your dreams. And it's so complex and so beautiful.
Yeah, I love it too. I love it too.
Okay, so we actually got, I know what we want to talk.
Kind of it's
Yeah,
about.
maybe we
Oh,
can like mention who this podcast is for.
yeah. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start? I can go.
Yeah, I can, you can go. Okay, you go.
This is how the podcast sounds as well.
Do you want to start? No, I
A
have
lot of
something to
laughing.
say. Okay, I will say it later.
There is a lot of laughing, and because I live here, there is a lot of animal sounds as well. I'm surprised, like there is no some disastrous chicken sound yet. I don't know if you guys hear it, but yeah, that is possible. That is very possible here. Hello.
Yeah,
For whom?
usually in this podcast, yeah, you can like hear chickens and dogs and cats, and then some birds, and like Nikki, I told Nikki like, okay, Nikki, we have to go live and tell the people, about this podcast. She's like, oh my God, I have to find space without animals. Like the hardest job of this podcast was find space without animals.
Life problems, but it's fun. Let's go
Yeah.
let's go talk about whom the podcast is. So I believe what we share is good for everyone, I believe, but because we both identify as women and we share from our really personal perspective in every episode, I just feel like women will resonate a little bit more with the topic, just from the simple fact that like I don't know how about you, but I feel like a different person every single week, and I don't think like guys have that kind of problem. So, so I feel it's just
Yeah.
I believe we share everything that things that will be useful to everyone. But I just feel like maybe specifically more women will resonate more with our messages and we how we look into the problems, how we can feel actually like a different person in different moments, and it's yeah, I think because it's
Yeah,
from
and
our
it's still
experience.
okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I was talking to my friend this weekend and I was telling her, like, okay, I really want to be authentic, but every week I feel like a different person. Every week I'm going through something different. And what if the people will think that I'm not being authentic because, like, every time I'm talking about something else? But she was like, yeah, but this is authenticity, You can talk about how, as you women, as your, like, opinions change, as you grow, and you can just, like, share this journey with others. And there's so many other women who feel the same, who also like change their minds and feel like different person every week. And I feel like we always say something that is perfect for the week's topic. I'm not sure if I've lost you. Can you hear me, Nikki?
Didn't seem some kind of like internet issue.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. So maybe I can talk a little bit more. Oh, I think I have you now.
I think so.
No. Okay. Baline's internet is also very fun, actually. Sometimes
Yeah,
the
it's
internet goes off. Sometimes, you can hear chickens.
it's very
Yes.
fun. What to tell you? Did you ask me any
Yeah.
question in the time?
No, I was just telling people that, like, it's beautiful that we as women kind of change every week, and our podcast is also slightly different, but the core message behind it is always the same. It's basically like freedom lifestyle and how people can find tools that work for them. And maybe we can like share a few topics that we have already recorded and maybe a few topics that we are about to record. So we actually have already uploaded a few topics, and I will say which ones those are because I think we've lost Nikki. Okay, so the first episode that we've recorded is how to trust that everything is working out for you. And this was such an amazing topic because, me and Nikki, we both believe like in the power of universe or in something higher than us, and that this higher power is always here to support us in whatever goals we have, in whatever dreams we want to follow. And this was a beautiful episode about where we kind of tackled how to get back into this trust even when we think that this is not working out for us. And it's so hard to believe sometimes because our mind kicks in and tells us reasons why this is not working out for us. So we kind of tackled how to get back into this trust that everything is working out. Yeah. Then we have an episode number 2 where we mention how to make yourself happy. And this is a beautiful episode where we kind of shared the tools that we do daily or like weekly or monthly to kind of create feelings of happiness and how to bring like more feelings of happiness into our bodies, because I feel like feeling happy now is like how you create long-term happiness. And the core message of this episode is that we always thought that, you know, we will be happy only when we have this amazingly successful business in 20 years. And after that, when we are rich, we will be happy. But this is actually not our approach. We believe that we have to build happiness daily, like in small things. Niki, I don't know what's
Yeah,
with the internet.
sometimes I'm not.
Okay, I'll keep going with the episodes. Yeah, episode number 3 was where we discussed freedom and what it means to us. And
Yes.
this is a favorite topic. Okay, this is a favorite topic of Niki because she is a freedom coach. And again, we've discussed like what freedom means to us. And I really believe that freedom is different for each person. For some person, freedom means like having quiet mornings, you know, enjoying their breakfast and doing whatever they want to do, being employed, you know, as an employee. For some person, freedom means like achieving financial freedom or like being able to travel frequently. And in this episode, we've beautifully talked about this. I think we now have you back, Niki.
We'll see. I don't know, kind of lagging, and yeah, I don't
But I
want to
can hear
interrupt
you.
in case. You don't really know how to experience them because until you know what you want, you don't know what you are going for. And what I want to also share important with this topic for me, what I mostly realize and I'm trying to share now with my clients, freedom starts in your head. Like it's totally your outside circumstances almost don't influence how you feel. Because I had experiences when I was still living in this beautiful paradise of Bali, but I didn't allow myself to feel free. I was kind of punishing myself for like more successful in my business, not being further away with my plans, and that is something that keeps away your freedom. And until I learned how to feel free in my head first, I couldn't if the message comes through all or not.
Almost.
Almost.
Yeah, but absolutely, I know what you're saying.
What
That
can we do?
freedom actually starts in our head, and until we make ourselves free in our head, we will never feel free. Even when we achieve this amazing, you know, financial success, if we still have this like mindset of restricting ourselves all the time, not allowing ourselves to enjoy life, we will never feel free.
Yeah. Also, not knowing how to celebrate your little steps if you reach your big goal. If you don't know how to celebrate the small, you will probably not know how to celebrate the big ones. Like that's also part of the freedom. That's also part of the topics we discussed there. I think it's almost as the more we practice feeling the feelings in the moment, having the practices of celebration and like feeling better, self-love and everything now, it's like the base for like your best life somewhere there in the future. Because when you learn the practices, you will know how to apply them in any given moment. And like I feel like that's one of the another core messages. Like how do you feel about this?
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like for me, like doing these practices daily is slowly reprogramming my brain to be more happier, right? So, for example, one practice that I share almost every episode is gratitude. And this is a practice I believe so strongly. And you know, just like feeling the feelings or like naming the things that we are grateful for daily, it totally changed my subconscious mind. And like daily shifting my mind towards what I'm grateful for long term like changed my subconscious mind also. So I'm now like I feel so happy even when things go wrong. And like years ago I would perceive them as, oh my god, this is horrible, my life is horrible. Now I feel so happy about them because my mind is just trained to be happy, you know. And it's all about these small things. And like acknowledging these small moments of happiness and mindfully recreating these small moments of happiness in your life.
Yeah, definitely. And I love another practice you usually share. It's about your wins. And I think that is like at least equally important to the gratitude, like to actually acknowledge what did you do wrong? What did you do good? What did you do good? And even the baby steps there on your way to the big goal, it's just such an amazing practice as well. You really inspired me with this one.
Yes, because so many times, we just strive for new and new and new goals, and we don't realize, like, yeah, I've grown so much. I've done this so well. I took the steps out of my comfort zone and did this and that, and this is so amazing. And so oftentimes we forget to acknowledge these wins, and this is so important.
Yeah, definitely. I don't even know what to. This is it. If we don't practice even celebrating the small steps, you almost don't know how to celebrate the big ones. And I want to connect it to, for example, now like it's when I used to feel like I'm not progressing in my business as fast as I want. Um, Basically, what I was doing is like I wasn't acknowledging the small steps I actually did right, because so it felt like I didn't do anything. But looking
Mhm.
back to it now, it wasn't such a disaster as I thought. It's just I thought like, oh my gosh, like everybody else does it like so much more faster and better and in a grander scheme. And it was this part of the comparison, because usually this is what we discuss as well. We compare ourselves to people who do things better, faster, and like greater than us, right? Like we don't compare ourselves to somebody who is, it's not even in your head. Like we try to compare with the better version, which is sometimes good
With the best ones.
in a way. Motivates you, yeah, it kind of motivates you, but at the same time, what usually ends up happening is like you compare your chapter 3, or I compare my chapter 3 to somebody's chapter 47, and that's like not fair. And if it brings me down, then I feel like, oh, I'm not progressing as fast as I could, then it's not beneficial. So yeah, I feel it's
Mm-hmm.
like this is also something important to realize. It's if you want to compare yourself with your past self, and if you also add the practice of like celebrating the wins, or like at least acknowledging them, that's like the best, because then you see the small progress. And yeah, I feel like this is part of the messages we share in the podcast as well.
Yes. Yes. So guys, if you want to like kind of get reminded of this each week, we will release our episodes every Tuesday. So every Tuesday there will be a new episode. Now you can find 4 episodes there already. I didn't mention that the 4th episode is called How to Remove the Energy of Guilt. And this is actually
I love
one of our most favorites. Do you want to talk about it a little bit, Nikki?
I almost, I mean, it's difficult for me to grasp it in like such a small part. I feel like if I start, I'm gonna go another hour here. If you have like
Okay, just shortly.
like try start and I will follow, but like my head is like somewhere like what where do you even start? Where do
This
you
was a
even
huge and amazing episode. It was so amazing.
Definitely. I feel maybe the core message would be um
That guilt is not required. That we don't have
guilt
to
is not
have guilt
required.
at all.
Guilt is not required, and basically be kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We we usually make something so much worse and bigger in our heads, and then like being in the constant like beating up yourself for what you did or didn't do, um it's like not helpful for anything. And I also remember we discussed this paradox, like sometimes I feel like feeling guilty is my default. Like I feel
Mm-hmm.
guilty when I do something, then I feel guilty when I don't do something. It's like there is almost no
Yeah.
winning. So helpful to anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't hear the whole message because the internet went out, but I know what you were saying. Like, sometimes we just think, oh, I shouldn't have done this, or I should have done it differently. And if we don't do it, we beat ourselves up for over like not doing it. So like, there's no way how we would be actually happy. This is just our like default thinking that we go to, and we feel guilty, no matter what. Yeah, and this is so important to realize that like guilt is not required. Like, you don't have to feel guilty in order to prove anything to anyone. Like, this is just your feeling, and like, this is a harmful feeling. Like, you don't feel good. No one likes the feeling of guilt, and this is not necessary. Like, we are humans, we are in this learning process. We do make mistakes. If we never let ourselves to make mistakes, we will never progress. And if we will feel like guilty for making mistakes, then we will never progress either. Like, this is like so not helpful. So
Yeah, definitely.
um kind of like going back to the self-love.
Going back to the self-love, and I feel like what we try to express, it's that we each have human experience here, right? Like we try to be mean to ourselves in like trying to progress faster, which doesn't help. We don't feel good all the time, which is totally okay. We do all the things that kind of stops us from the progress, in a way to kind of like a way that we want to progress, but it's somehow not working. But anyway, we have like the human experience, and we try to explain in the podcast like that's okay, and just be kind to yourself, take you as you are, accept you as you are now, and like with this more kinder and more relaxed feeling. At least that's what happened in my experience. Like when I stopped beating myself up for things, I started to progress maybe a little bit faster even, or I just started to feel better about it, which is kind of the goal, right? Like we want everything just to feel better. Usually, like people want, let's say, more money. Of course, like money helps you with life, so it's normal to want money, but it's kind of ultimately to reach some feeling, like feeling better, feeling more free, feeling more secure. So yeah, sometimes it's just about going to that feeling first, and the rest will follow.
Yes, absolutely. And as you mentioned, like when we are stressed, it's hard to see life with like the positive outlook, because when we are like in this fight or flight mode, constantly like beating ourselves up, feeling guilty, feeling not good enough, it's actually hard to progress and enjoy life. So it's much better if you start enjoying it now. Yeah, so if you guys would like to have more inspiration about this, you can check our podcast. I actually put the link in my bio. So this is like the main link on Anchor. And then you have many links where you can find our podcast. And at the moment, the podcast is available on Anchor, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, on Breaker. And it will also be available on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts, but it's not there yet. It should be probably there until the end of this week. And it will be also available on Overcast. So if you can like, subscribe, and share with your friends.
Yeah, hopefully you like it. Hopefully you help us to spread the message about what we do within the podcast. And yeah, hopefully you find it helpful.
Yes, I really hope that this podcast will get into the hands of the women that need to hear it, because I feel like nowadays there's so many women who need to hear this message, and even us creating this podcast, I sometimes need to remind myself, like, yeah, I really needed to say this because this is such a good reminder.
This is what I feel as well. Like even me teaching this to other people and having like coaching clients on this, I myself need a reminder constantly, because this is what our human brain does. Like we always go for the worst. Like it's the protection system from the brain to look for the tiger that's supposed to kill you. So it's not wrong. Your brain works in a way that it should be, but that doesn't mean that we always have to believe the mean thoughts that the brain produces, right? Like we can choose what thoughts to believe, and not everybody knows that there is a choice in this actually. So yeah, and just the
Yes.
reminder and the practices, the repeated practices, it's what actually helps long term. So that's why the podcast will come every week. And yeah, hopefully every week we will kind of ourselves and our listeners about like how we can do life differently and on our own terms. So
Yes. Oh, you
let's
said it so
our
beautifully.
podcast. Let's say thank you. Let's say the name of our podcast one more time, maybe.
Yes. So the name is On Her Own Terms. So you will find it on your favorite podcast platform. Again, now it's available on Spotify, which is what you most of you probably use, Anchor, Google Podcast, Radio Public, and Breaker, and it will be available on Apple Podcast as well. So the name is On Her Own Terms.
Yeah, with Annie and Nikki. And new episode will be coming out every Tuesday, every week from now on. Next week,
Yeah.
starting next week.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, guys, so thank you so much for joining us. Let us know how you liked our podcast. We are so thrilled to create new episodes for you. And I think in the future, we might also share some videos from our podcast episode. We will see. We might do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for joining and go ahead and let us know how you like the podcast. Or if there's any topic that you would like us to discuss.
Yeah, we like to like this would be nice, and we always like to talk about like new things. So if you guys have also an idea, let us know, and yeah, we will do something with it.
Yes. So have a great day.
Have a great day, have a great evening, and yeah, until next time. Bye bye.
Bye.